Welcome to this explainer. I am literally so pumped you're here today because we are tackling a massive, just incredibly urgent topic for any business leader right now. We're looking directly at Melbourne's booming AI landscape. Get this, as of right now, Melbourne is home to 188 AI companies. That is the largest concentration in all of Australia. And with projections showing AI could contribute $30 billion to the state's gross product over the next decade, well, the stakes have literally never been higher. So finding an AI consultant in this market, that's not the problem at all. Finding the right one, however, is a completely different story.
Okay, let's dive into this. $547 billion. According to Folio 3 AI, out of the $684 billion invested globally in AI initiatives in 2025, this staggering $547 billion produced absolutely zero measurable return. Think about that for a second. More than $500 billion essentially just set on fire. It raises a huge, glaring question. How is so much smart money getting it so incredibly wrong?
To answer that, we really have to look at the outcomes. Data from the RAND Corporation reveals a pretty harsh truth. 80% of AI projects completely fail to deliver their intended business value. 80%. And the crazy thing is, this isn't happening because the technology itself is flawed. The real root cause of this failure is just bad scoping. It comes down to unclear objectives and, frankly, hiring consultants who start building before they've done the hard work of actually diagnosing the problem.
Which brings us to Section 1. The value of pushing back, or why the best builders aren't always the best consultants.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it fundamentally shifts the whole power dynamic in a vendor meeting. Most companies go in asking the totally wrong question. They ask, can they build it? But the businesses that are actually getting AI right, they ask the right question. Will they tell you not to? Look, a consultant who just takes your brief and starts coding is giving you exactly what you asked for. But data from BEIARI shows that 63% of AI implementations fail simply because the use case was wrong to begin with. You absolutely do not need a yes man. You need someone who pushes back.
Let me give you a perfect real-world example of why pushing back matters so much. There was this professional services firm in Melbourne, right? They wanted to automate their entire proposal process with this highly complex, massive generative AI system. But the consultant they hired, thankfully, did a proper structured diagnostic first. And you know what they found? The real bottleneck was literally just finding old proposals and extracting clauses. So by building a super simple retrieval system instead of some massive generative model, they solved a $180,000 a year problem. If they just built what the client originally asked for, the maintenance costs alone would have completely outweighed the benefits.
Which brings us to this. The consultant who agrees with every idea you bring to the table is the most expensive one you will ever hire. Just let that sink in for a moment. Technical skills will absolutely get a consultant into the room with you, for sure, but it's their strategic clarity, their willingness to look you in the eye and say no, that actually protects your budget.
All right, so how do you actually find those strategic partners? Let's move to Section 2, 5 rules for hiring, separating the deliverers from the presenters. Rule number 1, hire for diagnosis over capability. Listen, the very first deliverable you receive from a partner should not be some complex technical architecture diagram. No way. It must be a workflow map. A truly brilliant consultant maps how work actually moves through your business. They talk to the people on the floor, and they find the exact friction points where time and money are bleeding out. And they do all this well before they ever start theorizing about where AI might fit.
Moving on to rule number 2, and this is absolutely crucial. Demand measurable outcomes upfront. The data from Pratama Partners makes this night and day. Projects that defined quantified success metrics before the work even begins achieve a 54% success rate. But projects without them? They languish at just 12%. It's not even close. Accepting a fuzzy goal like, oh, we're going to improve efficiency is a total trap. You need hard metrics like, we will reduce turnaround from 14 days to 3 days, saving 22 hours per week. So the crucial point here leads us right into rule number 3. Avoiding the consulting dependency trap. According to Synthes AI, this is a massive root cause of project failure. You hire a great firm, they build a great tool, and then they leave. And they take all that implementation capability right out the door with them. The best AI consulting firms actively work to internalize these capabilities within your own team during those first 90 days. Because at the end of the day, you want to build expertise, not just rent it forever.
Rule number 4 focuses on change management, and wow, this data from the Melbourne Business School is incredibly revealing. 60% of employees have hidden their AI use from their employer. 60%. If your staff is using AI in the shadows, actually, let's be clear, that is not an adoption problem. That is a trust problem. A highly capable consultant doesn't just treat change management as an afterthought. They build it into the delivery pipeline from day one, so your team actually embraces the new tools out in the open.
And rule number 5 is a super simple but highly revealing question that you must ask. What would you recommend if you were not building it? A consulting firm that seriously considers a third-party SaaS tool, or maybe even a focused in-house project, before pitching you an expensive custom build, that shows immense trustworthiness. They are literally showing you that they care way more about solving your problem than they do about padding their own billable hours.
That naturally brings us to the elephant in the room, right? Costs. Everyone wants to know the hourly rate, but the honest truth is, the hourly rate is just the wrong metric entirely. IBM's research shows an average return of $3.50 for every dollar invested in AI. But wait, that average hides a really sharp divide. Companies that scope properly get massive multiples, while those that skip the diagnostic phase, they get zero. So the real cost question you need to ask is this: what does this engagement need to deliver for it to pay for itself within 6 months? If the consultant can't answer that with specifics tied to your actual operations, walk away.
And hey, if you're still sitting there thinking, but surely the most technically brilliant coders guarantee the best results, right? Let's aggressively debunk that myth right now. Data from Labor 411 reveals that a massive 84% of AI project failures are caused by leadership and strategy issues. Only 16% fail due to technical shortcomings. The technology almost always works. It's the scoping, the governance, and the organizational readiness where these incredibly expensive projects go to die. This brings us to Section 3, Clarity over Code and what a good first engagement actually looks like. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact deliverables you should be demanding. Look, you might think you want a fancy technology diagram, but what you actually need is a workflow and process map showing exactly where the friction is. You don't need some vague Phase 1 discovery period. You need a prioritized, phased roadmap that includes actual economics and payback timelines. And, most importantly, instead of just a custom build, you need a clear statement of what not to build. Firms like Sunburnt AI over in Melbourne do this through what they call an X-ray workshop. It's this structured discovery session that maps workflows and, crucially, isn't afraid to tell you if AI simply isn't the answer.
Let's move to our final section, the final AI checklist, before you sign anything.
All right, here is your rapid-fire, hard-hitting checklist for your next vendor meeting. 1. What is your diagnostic process? If they don't have one, the meeting is over. 2. Show me a project where you recommended not building something. This proves they optimized for your outcome, not their revenue. 3. When is the first success checkpoint? If success is only measured at month 12, you have zero early warning system. 4. What happens to the knowledge when you leave? Ensure you aren't just renting expertise. And 5. What are the non-custom alternatives? Remember, technical skills merely get a consultant into the room. It is their business acumen that will ultimately deliver the value.
I want to leave you with one final provocative question. The very next time you sit across from a brilliant AI engineer or consultant, ask them this directly. What would you recommend if you were not building it? The answer they give you is going to tell you everything you need to know about whether they are a true partner for your business or just another expensive vendor. Rethink your hiring approach, demand clarity over code, and you will be well on your way to actual AI success. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see how you apply this to your own business.